What's going on? Oh snap, what is this? It's your boy Iaayp. I have no idea what's going on, but seems like a cool sign from God, honestly. Flash. It was also cool that I was watching a trailer for Flash today. Interesting, guy's trans. But anyways, so yeah, let's get into the word. Let's get into the word. Let's fix this here. Okay, this is not gonna work. It's just too regular. Light. How about regular light? Just normal light. Like, about... Oh, where's the brightness? See? I could turn it on, and then I could turn it off. Flash off? Why is it doing that? That's so weird. Anyways, this is the word right here. Let's get into it for a little bit. I'm just going to charge my phone because I'm using a new camera and God knows this is going to completely drain my battery. Alright, so let's dispel some rumors. Okay, let's dispel some rumors here. Okay. Let's talk about there's just so many fun things to talk about. Let's talk about how should we talk about let's talk about let's just talk about how we get saved. Let's talk about how we get saved, because that's just the ABCs, alright? So the first thing, obviously, right, is the ABCs, right? So the A, right, is to accept that you are a piece of shit, garbage sinner. There is nothing that you can do of your own will, of your own accord, right, that can get you into heaven, okay? Because you are a rotten tree. And the word says rotten trees cannot produce good fruit. You know what I mean? A corrupt tree cannot produce good fruit. And so what we need, right, is so basically on our own, there's no way, right? And so what happened is Jesus Christ, right? He came at a certain time in history to he lived a perfect life and did not sin one time. And what he did was he took all the sins of humanity and he absorbed it into his body, and then he basically killed his body. Because in the Old Testament, what they would do is, to get rid of their sins, is everybody in the congregation, right, they would all have various sins, right? What they would do is they would take an animal, right? A pure, innocent animal, hasn't done anything, it's innocent, right? And then they would put their sins inside the animal, right? Because it's an empty receptacle. And that's actually why I need to get God Bless God too. Because, dude, God Bless God literally pairs up perfectly with the Bible. And that's the crazy thing. God bless God in the Bible are like literally it's the same. It's like one story. That's what I love about it. All right, so in God bless God, we always talk about emptiness and fullness. Okay, so let's get it here. Okay, so what is God? This is where we talk about two important formulations, right? This is right here. Two important formulations. Okay. This is page 15 in your textbook here. It says God. I'm gonna keep this still here. God is energy, which equals unconditional love, right? But then it says, what is energy, right? And energy is the inseparable and complementary union. Hold on, let's do this. Hold on, let's get this straight here. It is the inseparable and complementary union and harmony between absence and presence, emptiness and fullness, one and many, form and formless, nothing and everything, absolute and relative, and possibility, the end and the beginning. And I wrote this whole book before I read the Bible because this just came as pure revelation, right? So let's think about this, okay? Absence and presence, okay? You need an emptiness, right? An openness, a receptacle to take in all those sins, okay? Right? And this is a simultaneity too. So it's not that that there's no sins in Jesus's body, or that you know Jesus' body's empty. It's a simultaneity. Okay, this is divinity. Okay, now another thing that's important is this concept called innocence and omniscience. Okay, innocence and omniscience. Okay, let's think about this. Okay, so when a child, right? I just think about think about like a baby. Okay, think about a toddler. A toddler's nervous system is making trillions of computations, measurements, communications with different neurons and its blood. Even just the oxygen itself is one of the most sophisticated, unspeakably complicated molecules, or like microorganisms, or whatever you want to call it, cells, that you can even speak of. Okay, and it's pumping through perfectly, like a perfect orchestra, throughout that baby's body. Okay, and even just for that baby, when it doesn't get what it wants, for it to cry, that whole, just the crying, for it to get the water through the eye, through the iris, through the pupil, down to the face. I mean, even for the hair to grow, all that stuff, you could not replicate it, because it's the work of omniscience. Okay, but the baby itself is innocent. Okay, so think about this, right? It's almost like, and you are doing the omniscience, right, while being innocent. So think about this: if somebody arrested you, right, because they said, hey, you are guilty of growing your hair. If someone said, hey, listen, nobody's allowed to grow their hair because it's too it's too complicated, it's too sophisticated, um, it's too impressive cognitively. We think it's dangerous that mankind is able to synchronize and you know masterfully design this system of the keratin coming out of all the pores at the right time so that it looks a certain way. And we just don't want to have it. We think it's too advanced, okay? We just don't want humans experimenting with that stuff, okay? So no humans need to grow their hair anymore, okay? We're just having a moratorium on it, and that's it, okay? So humans, you're absurdly intelligent. So that I just need to stop that. You can live your life and do whatever you want, okay? You just need to stop that activity. And then your hair keeps growing, right? And then they arrest you. And you're like, what the heck? And you're like, and they're like, sir, you kept growing your hair. Look how long it is. 3 months ago, we put the moratorium, and now your hair is like, 6, 7 inches longer. And you said, but sir, I couldn't do anything about that. I mean, it just grows. They're like, what do you mean it just grows? You're literally doing it. You are literally operating your body. And you're like, no, they're like, who's doing it? It's you. They're like, all right, grab this bottle right here, and you grab it. It's like, okay. So who just grabbed that bottle? And then, your face itches, you itch it. Okay? You're hungry, you get some food. Okay? Now, I'm glad I brought that up because food, the Bible talks about food a lot because I think it's the perfect intersection of the ability for the operator of this, what I call a biobot, like our human nervous system, right? But also the will of the human being as well. Because when you eat, right, you take food and you put it in your mouth, right? That's all your will, right? But then in your chewing, that's still you. And of course you have no clue how this is done, but you're still, at least it seems as if you are doing it. You're doing these actions. And then after that, you have no clue how it's done. You have no clue how the esophagus and the saliva and all that stuff is preparing the food into certain sizes that it needs to be, and how the teeth are perfectly aligned. You have your incisors, you have the different ones, the mandibles, and that the way it goes down into the acids in the stomach break it down, and then you have a small intestine, large intestine, and all those things, right? You have no clue how it's done, but you can choose what goes in. You can't choose to not be hungry if you haven't eaten. So that's that intersection. They always talk about food a lot in the Bible. And so that's that innocence, omniscience that we talk about as well. Okay? And I can't really even take credit for a lot of this stuff because this was just pure revelation. I mean, so we got the innocence, omniscience right here, number 12. Okay? That's the innocence and the omniscience. Okay? Because God is that pure life omniscience. You know what I mean? It's like it's like, how is a baby crawling? That how it, you know what I mean? Like, so what it is almost is like if you were given like the most extremely just, I can't even describe it, but just magically, fantastically amazing feat of science, engineering, mechanics, uh, uh, cybernetics, everything, ergonomics. And you were given this thing, this vehicle. You were like, is this a Maserati? What is this, right? And you can operate it, and it's so seamless that you're getting the credit. You know what I mean? It's like that's the magic of God, dude. It's like, how does something that's omniscient and it's omnipresent, right? Individuate itself so that they're separate, dignified, autonomous, discrete beings that seem to have their own separate life with their own will. When in reality, there's just one thing going on, and that's the whole idea of the simultaneity. The simultaneity is that unspeakable paradox of love, which comes right here. Okay? This is the amoria, okay? It's a paradox of love. Aporia is like something that you can't get. Aporia is something that you can't, it's a paradox. You can't go further. And then amor means love in Spanish, okay? And that's kind of like a cliffhanger right there. We could go further, but I mean, man, there's just so many themes that just it's just wild. Like when I read the Bible, it just blew me away. Like I already had suspicions that like I was like, yo, this sounds awfully a lot like the Bible. And then I was like, wait a minute. This is like perfectly aligned. You know, this is perfectly aligned. I mean, this is the workbook, you know. So, I mean, a fun one is, let's see. Should we do subject and object? Okay, let's talk about subject and object here. Just real quick. Let's do subject and object. Okay, so subject and object. This is just real quick, okay? So if I say, just grammatically, if I say, hey, my name is Iaayp, right? Or Iaayp, right? And I say, Iaayp has the book, right? Or Iaayp left the book in the car, right? So Iaayp's the subject. The car is an object, and also the book is an object, right? So Iaayp can go get the book, you know? Or you can say the book perceived, you can anthropomorphize it. You can say the book saw Iaayp, or the book saw Oliver, the book saw this person, right? You know what I mean? But the subject is Iaayp, okay? So, you know, the metagory, right? So now, let's see here. Let's see what type of relationship, right, does Jesus have to the world here, okay? Let's just see. And these are all spoilers, because really, you know, this, I mean, if you read it yourself, you're just going to be blown away by how dope this entire book is. But anyways, like, I had no clue it was going to lead me to, like, the actual Bible. I was like, this is weird, but whatever. Anyways, so, check this out here. So, the book of John right here, right, says, check this out. So it says, in verse 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, right? So you have the Word. Where's the Word? The Word, right, was with God. So where's the Word? Oh, God has the Word, right? And it says, and the Word was God. And you're like, wait, what? So you're like, so that's basically saying, like, hey, man, can you go throw on some cologne? And you're like, give me a second. Oh yeah. I left my cologne in my room. Let me go get that. And then you're like, hey, I got the cologne, and I am the cologne. And you're like, what? So there's no distinction between objects? Are you just like a omnipresent spirit? How is there no distinction between subject and object? Well, let's go check this out. Oh, number 9 on our list. Subject and object, right here. Okay? Because if you're God, you're unconditional love, okay? You're unconditional love, all right? That's what you are. So that means it's not that you love somebody, it's that that person isn't even separate from you, okay? And Paul even talks about this. Let's go find Paul real quick. He talks about this so much. In fact, he says that was he talking about this in, I mean, he talks about this all the time, but he says, let's see. All right. Okay, so check this out. So in Romans 8, right? He's talking about our relationship with Christ, okay? He's saying that, so we're talking about this subject and object thing, right? We're talking about like this like oneness, right? The simultaneity. Paul's saying here that we're literally like, obviously, it's kind of symbolic, it's kind of spiritual, like how we, you know, we were there on the cross in a sense. Like we die with God, we die with Christ, and we live with Christ because he's resurrecting that dead body, okay? Our sins were there in his dead body that's dead. And he planted that death into the ground and he raised up an immortal, clean spirit. Only God could do that. But it says here, he says, so verse 8, Romans 8, verse 8, so then they that are in the flesh cannot please God, but ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. If so be that the Spirit of God dwell in you. So it says, now if any man have not the Spirit of Christ, he is not of his. And if Christ be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Jesus from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up Christ from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwelleth in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if you live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if you live through the Spirit, do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. For as many are as led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs, and heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. So it's like we're literally Okay, so it says, and if children, so it says, for as many are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. So we're literally become sons of God through this process of rebirth. Okay? I mean, I mean, I don't have enough time to explain all these things, but but basically, when you've received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God, and if children, then heirs, and heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. See, it's like revealed in us. It's like we're temples, we're tabernacles now. We are the new, what is it called? Altars. We are now the emptiness. You know what I mean? Where God is then going to perform his glory. I mean, it's just wild, dude. And yeah, I mean, yeah. But anyways, no, it's cool. It's like, I mean, I'm trying to find the verse. I think is it John 6 where he's accused of. And the thing is, right? I was like, is it John 6 where he's accused of being. Okay, here it is. So in God Bless God, I even said, like, this is even before I even read the Bible. I was like, dude, I try to make it like somewhat palatable to people, but I was like, it's not that we are God, but God is us. And I just couldn't explain it because after my seizure and stuff, just the world was so different, and like just energy and just all this stuff was just so new. But I think I write it somewhere. It's just like, I think I write we are that. I think I write like, I think I write it on the on Amazon or something. I wrote the something about the something about like on the advertisement for the book, something about like um we are this absolute oneness. Um Look, more of that, paradox, that emptiness, fullness, zero and infinity are the exact same thing. Like, how do you put all the sins, past, present, future, of everybody into your body and then kill your body, but then raise your soul? Like, it's just, I mean, death and life, exact same thing. So like, it's not even really, I mean, this is more of like the apocrypha, if you will. It's like, what's the facts are not even relevant here. It's just like the fact that this is even a kindred, like spiritually, with the actual Bible. And obviously, we go with the Bible anytime there's any discrepancy. But anyways, what was I gonna say? Last thing, because we're about to hit 30 minutes here. Yeah, so check it out. So we are joint heirs, right? Should I go here? Should we go to Galatians? So if we go to Galatians, I think it's in Galatians 4. It's either in Galatians 1 or Galatians 4, let's see. Here it is. So even Paul talks about it again. So he says, now I say, because this is Paul, he says, now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all. So he's like, if your dad is the emperor and you're a child, right? He's like, there's not really too much difference between you and like, one of the emperor's servants, because, your dad's gonna order you around, right? Because you have tutors, the verse 2, you're under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Father. Even so, we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world, right? Right, under the elements of the world. Under sin, under the works. When we used to believe we needed works to be saved, and we used to believe that we were the ones getting ourselves saved, which is, ludicrous. So verse 4 says, but when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman. So it's all by the rules. It's all by the book. I said this is a virtual reality, right? So if he designed this whole complex, matrix, right? And if he was going to play by the books, play by the rules, as his final act, he was like, I'm going to literally do the undercover boss. I'm gonna do undercover boss. I'm gonna be born as a woman. I'm gonna have all the same desires as you, all the same temptations as you, everything, limitations, everything. And then I'm gonna alienate myself from myself and see if I still love myself. You know what I mean? Because that's what dreams are. As a side note, that's what dreams are. It's like, you know, if in a dream you think that there's actually a child in that burning building, and if you decide to run out because you're scared, and then you wake up and you're like, you still in your heart you still chickened out because you thought it was real. So this reality, the whether it's flat Earth or whether it's Matrix or is irrelevant. What's important is the test. Okay, the Bible says this life is a vapor. It's a vapor. Okay, made out of dust. Okay, so what is important is the test. Okay. Now, anyways, let's get back to what I was saying. So here we are. Okay, but it says made of a woman, made under the law. Okay, what did he do to the law? What did he do to works? What did he do to the Sabbath? What did he do to the? What did he do? He said to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. And because ye are sons, God hath sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Wherefore you are no more a servant, but a son. And if a son, then an heir of God through Christ. See, that's the important part. People forget about that. All these, what's it called? Black Hebrew Israelites, all this nonsense. They don't even believe in Christ. You are an heir through Christ, okay? Even God bless God doesn't have that. That's the difference between, that's really the difference, okay? Between this book and God bless God. It's through Christ. And even in Acts, there's stories of Paul and his buddies getting people saved who believe in God, but they don't believe in Jesus Christ. They believe they have to do works. So it's through Christ, through this free gift, okay? That is how you become a born again son. But another thing I like about just the DMT and that whole mystique is the sense of rebirth, that re-cleansing, the sense that DMT is natural, it's released when you're born, when you sleep, when you die. And whether, controversy or not, but there's a sense of rebirth, and that's the thing, it's just amazing how the Bible has it all, dude. It has it all. It has that rebirth. It has, because that's what's necessary. There's something wrong with our bodies, our skin, our everything. There's something wrong with the carnal man. There's something wrong with him. Okay? And you're a fool, and I was a fool too, but you're a fool if you think that you can make it to heaven when you've already sinned. You can't have one sin and get to heaven. So if you're like, hey, I used to be a piece of shit, but now I'm on the straight and narrow, hoping to get to heaven, you already can't get into heaven. That's how it works. It's like, dude, just take the free gift, okay? Because what the free gift says is, it says that I cannot do it my own. What did Cain say? Cain said, no, God, I got you. I'm going to work on my own. I'm going to make a field. I'm going to make a vineyard. I'm going to get you some nice gifts. What did Abel say? He said, I'll do the sacrifice. I will sacrifice the goat. Because the goat symbolized, or the lamb or whatever he sacrificed, symbolized God's sacrifice for us. Okay? These themes started from Genesis chapter 1. Okay? Even Adam deciding to go his own way. Okay? He said, you know what? God said that, but let me go my own way. You see, once you put man in there, and then you don't want to mix man and God. Just stick to God's word, and you'll be fine. But man wants to do, a little half and half. But anyways, the only reason I brought you here was because, holy crap, we're at 34. Wherefore you are no more a servant, but a son. If a son, then an heir of God through Christ. Howbeit then, when you knew not God, you did service unto them which by nature are no gods. There's all kinds of gods. It's funny because Old Testament, they had Baal and all these things and all these kind of gnarly gods. But then, we're all sophisticated now in the New Testament, and you see these Greek gods, and then you see these Epicureans and these atheists, and you're just like, interesting. Like, it's like, wow, like, it's just very interesting how, it this Bible is more relevant than your newspaper that you're picking up today. Anyways, but now after that you have known God, or rather are known of God, how turn ye again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto you desire again to be in bondage? But anyways, but what's important is that everyone talks about it, okay? But now, this is what I'm going to end on because I'm so hungry and I'm really tired. So, where are we in John? Right, John 6. John 6. Can we make it before 40 minutes? I'm going to be really mad if this thing doesn't. Okay, so John 6. John 6. In John 6, he gets in trouble because it's actually John 5. In John 5, Jesus gets in trouble right here, right? And it says that in verse 16, and therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. Jesus really mopped the floor with the Sabbath thing. Like he really did. It's hard to justify being a Seventh-day Adventist. Anyways, verse 17, but Jesus answered them, my Father worketh hitherto, and I work. And he said, verse 18, therefore, this is important, the Jews sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that God was his father, right? And what does that mean when you say God is your father? That's something you need to ask yourself. Is God your father? Who is your father, right? Who is your father? Is your father a priest? Is your father a monk? Is your father, is your father a president? Is your father Darth Vader? Is your father the devil? Is your father? Who is your father? You know what I mean? Just ask yourself that. But he says that, but Jesus answered, my Father worketh hither, and I work. Therefore the Jews sought more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Do you see how bold of a claim that is? Making himself equal with God. This is serious stuff. This inheritance is not like, oh, my dad is Jeff Bezos, so I'm gonna inherit a lot when no, it's like your dad's the creator of the universe. So this is not a joke. So anyways, all right. Iaayp, subscribe to my channel. Keep it 300. I am against your pillows. This is the Metagory. We're going to be coming out with a lot more stuff now that we got the technical difficulties straightened out. I know this video sucks. I might edit it, but stick around, keep it locked. Keep it Christian, keep the faith. All right, be good or be good at it.